My brothers and I are here, and some Hive Scummers are here with us as well. Steve and Gage, nice to have you here.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Everybody.
Hell yeah,
It's the holidays. We're here. We're ready, I guess.
we're ready.
Yeah.
Are people ready for the
Christmas
holidays?
is here. No.
I put up a
Absolutely not.
Christmas tree. I
Nice.
told
Yeah.
everyone in my family I'm not buying gifts and don't get me any gifts.
I mean,
Okay.
That's sick.
that's nice.
That's a good
Steve, did you
policy.
get me a gift?
What'd you say?
Did you get me a gift?
I did.
Alright, cool.
Wait till you see the gift I got myself.
Okay.
It's really good. You're gonna see it next time I see you.
Yeah, gift giving kind of, or I mean, it kind of is great to give gifts, but
I love
thought
Yeah,
of
giving
the-
people
Oh yeah,
things.
totally.
I
yeah,
love
giving
it.
people stuff is great.
What's
I
the
do like
holidays
it.
at the wires?
Um,
You guys all crawl back into your vestigial pods together?
No.
no. We'll be
Well,
at the parents' house for a
around.
time.
Yeah, but
You guys want to come to my house for Christmas? It'll be the first Christmas in my new house.
that's
Nice.
fun.
Does sound sick. And also sweet.
It will be pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Will it be cold?
No. Why was it cold when you were here last time?
No, I thought it was fine.
Oh no, it
But
was
it
like
is a-
summertime.
Yeah, but it is a big house, and I could see it maybe being
It gets a little cold
like
sometimes.
expensive to heat.
It does.
A big old house.
Riveting.
So Adam, you have a picture of a creepy little frog devil. Can you talk about that?
So, yeah, I can talk about it a little bit. So, for the most part, I don't even know how long now, but for a number of years around the holidays, I've started drawing holiday themed cards for friends and family. And this year, I decided I would ask my mother if she had a suggestion of a card that she wanted me to draw for her. And she wanted me to draw her a creepy Christmas frog.
That's pretty good.
Is that how she worded it?
I don't remember exactly how she worded it, but it was something along those lines. So, this was the creepy Christmas frog that I came up with. They're kind of inspired off
It's a
of
leaf
these
frog.
little Malaysian leaf frogs that have,
Yeah.
if you look at them from the top, they look like a leaf, and they have it almost looks like they have horns coming out from above their eyes that also sort of look like leaves. So
Yeah.
that's what they were inspired
I'll
off
look
of.
at it after this Twitch ad goes away.
Fucking Twitch.
Wait, where can I? Oh, I have to see it on Twitch.
It can be on
You have to
Twitch.
see it on Twitch.
I also have an
Hold on.
Instagram page called, I think, The Killing Cold.
Oh, I
It
do
was
follow.
posted there maybe
But
yesterday.
yeah, you can have Twitch up, muted, and
Yeah, I'm gonna have to
follow along. I mean, it's behind by a little bit, but not too much.
But yeah,
Oh,
this
there we
is
go.
my creepy Christmas frog.
I love his dangly little legs.
Yeah, I think he turned out pretty well. A little different from how I normally draw things, but I like to think that his little bag, that doesn't have presents in it, that actually has earth in it, dirt and stuff in it, and he's taking that in the tree to another place to plant the tree, and
Just relocating it for himself.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He is like a Krampus
Little
Christmas
Krampus
frog.
frog.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's
It's
cute.
true.
I liked the card we got.
Oh, that's good, you actually got it. Yeah,
Got it yesterday.
God, you got it.
Are we allowed to?
Yeah,
Are we allowed to talk about it? Is it a secret?
Yeah,
it's not
no.
a secret. So, for the past, I don't even, maybe like 4
It's
years now.
exclusive. You and 40 other people.
Well, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. For the past maybe 3 or 4, probably 4 years now, we've taken to sending out holiday themed cards for our blog, and I try to draw something for them, print them myself, and then mail them out to like friends of the pod.
Friends of the pod.
Friends of the
Friends of the
blog and
pod.
such. And this year I think I've sent out like 45 of them.
So you're not that special.
That's fine.
I know
I
it's
mean,
not
you're
really.
special enough to be here.
Yeah.
Special enough to get
Yeah.
a note on the other side. Unless you met all 40 of those people within the last year, then we're
True.
definitely not special.
Well, I mean, I do write stuff on the back of all of the cards, so
Jesus.
So we're
Yeah.
not special.
No, well, it's
but
personalized.
what I
It's
wrote
a
was
personalized
different.
thing.
It's different. They're different. So yes, it was personalized. But yeah, so no,
We
I've
love you guys.
so I don't know, it's
Is-
kind of fun. We've been doing that for a while, and I'm glad it arrived. I think most
Now
of
it's
those I
obligated.
sent out on the 1st of December, so I'm sort of surprised it took them this long to arrive.
Yeah, it's already the 12th.
Yeah,
Well, you
Yeah.
got it yesterday.
All the Christmas presents going in.
because I
Santa's
know
elves are shipping stuff.
I
Mhm.
sent out the majority of them on December 1st, and the first one we actually heard arrived was from someone in the United Kingdom. So they got their cards before
sense.
people in America.
I
Which-
get stuff like 2 days after Curtis sends it to me from Ramshackle. I don't. He doesn't pay any extra. It just that's what happens.
That's wild.
That's funny.
Yeah, so you
That's
never really
funny.
know how things are going to go at the post office. I found now, if I ever send something overseas, well, one, you have to put a lot more information about what you're sending. But then two, they now also warn you that when the person receives the thing you're sending them, they are going to have to pay a customs fee. And they give you an
Yeah.
estimate of how much they're going to have to pay.
It's country to country. Not all the countries give you that warning.
Yeah, that's true. But some of the fees are outrageous. I
Yep.
think.
That's why everything I send is worthless.
Well, I know. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
$1 an item.
$5, $2 to $5. Yeah, a gift. It doesn't matter. But you
Yeah.
should say that it's worthless, because if you don't say that it's worthless, the chances of the recipient having to pay exorbitant fees are much higher.
Yeah.
In terms of shipping things like personally like that, I would encourage people to make a pirate ship account. It allows you to create your labels and just print them at home, and you put the information in. You can fill out the customs form online, so you don't have to fill it out again at the post office, and it's like usually like a 10 to 15% discount from like the stock post office prices, and it will also compare like UPS costs and so forth, such that if one is cheaper than the other, you can do it there. It really makes shipping things less shitty.
And it
Are you
also
limited to a certain amount of like ships with it, or
I don't think so. It's like you're paying them directly for this stuff. Like midway through sending those Vastarian casts to people, I realized I was stupid and should just use something like this. Such that all the stuff, all the tracking information is in one place. It's cheaper, easier to follow. It's just better. Rather than you packing something up, writing the address on it, taking it to the post office, having to fill out another customs form for them to print out something to put it over top of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes the process
Well,
easier.
And the people at the post office aren't very nice half the time.
no? They never care.
Well, their system, you have the customs sheet you have to fill out, and then it has like 5 pages, and they print out a separate sticker to put on each of the page.
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, so if you do it through some other thing like pirate ship, you don't have to do any of that. You just
That
print it
works.
out and tape it on.
I remember I just shipped a bunch of stuff the other day, and like even shipping just a singular zine now is like $4 when it used to be like $1 to send most of my stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's changed a lot recently.
And then no
waiting
one is
for-
helpful either. Like you ask them, like, is it cheaper if I send this like first class or medium mail? And they're like, there is no first
Yeah,
class
they don't care at
anymore.
all. I'm waiting for the
People-
fiasco that will be the Secret Santa. There's got to be at least 40 people on there that I know have never filled out a customs form before, so that's going to be chaos, I'm sure.
Well, if
I
you
mean,
use
that is not
Hive
your
Scum, it's
responsibility.
easier.
No, it's not mine, but the amount of
Did
questions
anyone-
people are going to ask.
Where do
Did
I
any-
sign my name?
Did any of you participate in a Hobby Vices Christmas thing?
I don't know what
I,
that
Ho, ho,
is.
I didn't
Hobby
find out
Vices.
about it until people were showing, like,
Oh, ho, ho,
just
Hobby
sent this
Vices.
out.
It's probably like the 5th year, or maybe even more, that they've been doing it.
Mhm.
Hobby Vice is like how he got a Warhammer Hero Award when they were still doing that for doing it. But
He
we
did.
did it for maybe the last 3 years, and this year decided like it's just not worth it.
It's
Like
it's
I mean,
like a lot
it's
of
a nice
it's a nice thing.
it's a nice thing, but it's kind of a lot of work, and people just send you shit you don't want.
Yeah, like
I would
and
say,
you
what's the
get
premise?
stuff.
Just like a budget, or
They say like you have to at least spend, I don't know, over $20, but provided it's over that, and they usually send out of kind of an informational thing where you tell them things you might
are
like.
interested in.
That's
So
kinda
it kind of
crazy.
behooves you as a person to be very specific, and
Mhm.
if you just half-ass it, like it'll be harder for it to like. So I mean, it's cool and it's fun, but it's gotten quite large. And
Mhm.
because of it, there's some automated features and such. And I felt that every time I would do it, aspects of the process would be somewhat confusing, and like you weren't sure if you did it right or if you got the proper email or if all these things. And like every year, I would have similar issues about confusion with things, and they would send an email or put something on Discord saying like, in all the years we've done this, we've never made a mistake. It's you if you're having a problem. And like just this sort of like shaming people for, and I don't know, having done it for years and years, and every single time I felt there was something would come up that wasn't clear or didn't work right, it started to seem to me that like I'm a relatively smart person. I've done it numerous times. Like if it's still confusing and weird, like that's not just me.
right? Yeah, it's not user error at that point.
Like, and I mean, I do appreciate, at least to some extent, that it is a big operation and lots of people
Yeah.
are
No, it's a
doing it,
nice
so it's going to
thing.
be a difficult thing to do. But I just didn't really like the attitude behind it. Um, so yeah, we didn't do it this year. But
I'm more interested in Solstice 28. I want to get one of those idols.
Isn't
I don't know
that
if
an
you
easy
guys have
one?
seen that.
You just make a donation.
Yeah,
you
I
get
just
one.
go. Yeah, I pay for something and I get a thing.
Isn't that the thing that my name was
Mhm.
pulled twice, and then
Mhm.
I didn't get any of them?
It was pulled twice.
oh yeah,
That's
so the first,
correct.
I think it was
Yeah.
the first year that they did it. They kind of invited a
Yeah.
few people like
Yeah.
Isaac Tobin and others,
Mhm.
and that everyone made a thing,
Mhm. Made their
and
own idol
then
and
they were
whatnot.
kind of raffled off if you did a donation. Whereas this year, and maybe last year or more recently, it's just been he has made multiple idols that he will send you casts of it. So
Mhm.
it's not like a raffle type thing, but.
Yeah.
Greg's name was pulled twice, and he didn't actually get anything. I
Damn.
forget who it was that you
Or-
won. Like they
Um,
acknowledged eventually, like, yeah, I'm still working on it. I want to do this or that.
And then
I don't
and
know.
then the second time it was pulled, it was I think Isaac Tobin, like weirding way, but it's like, oh, we're not gonna send you that because you already got it once. So then they pulled another name. It's like, god damn it.
It's like,
Yeah, I
and
mean-
now you've got nothing.
Well, why did I enter if I can't win?
But I
Yeah.
mean, ultimately, like,
It doesn't matter.
money
You
was
entered
donated to
to
help.
Right, right.
Oh, the old ones, it was still based on making a donation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
so, like,
admittedly
whatever.
don't even remember who made the thing you won
Um,
anymore.
I can figure it
It
out.
doesn't matter.
Yeah, who cares?
But it's cool that they're doing that, and I agree that to me is a more exciting thing than ho hobby vices.
Yeah,
But
than
both
getting
are still cool.
a random box of Space Marines or
Yeah, like getting a plastic box of like Wolfen, Space Wolves Wolfen or something.
One of the
Yeah.
years, maybe it was the first year we did it, we were actually, or the
Oh my
person who
God,
gave us
yeah.
something was literally the hobby vices, like the creator.
And he created this whole thing where you could watch an online like video thing that he made, but he didn't
You
do
had
it.
to scan a QR code, basically a QR code, or something. You
Yeah.
had to scan it for it to play. But yeah, he did it. He didn't do it properly, such that he didn't
Yeah.
set it up properly. I guess he didn't test it, such that when you scanned it, like it didn't do anything. So it's
Oh,
like I
no.
had to like awkwardly Instagram him like, "Hey, we think this is you. We're not sure what we're supposed to do. Like, 'cause it doesn't seem to work." And it was a weird.
Yeah,
That's
it was
awful.
weird.
I mean,
Incredible.
I guess maybe that's just leading to like the entire experience had like lots of elements over the years of being somewhat feel bad, despite it ultimately being a good thing.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
we had the best part was collecting together things to send to whoever your recipient was, and like we sent out a lot of neat stuff to people, and I know people were really happy and excited. So like that was very nice.
Right, right.
So like it's a good thing, and if you consider taking part in it in the future, if you're at all interested in getting cool things, you should just fill out the sheet and really tell people, like, say, like, send me your favorite book you read this year, or your copy of your favorite and it doesn't even matter what it is, but
Send
come up
me
with something
3
interesting.
boxes of Intercessor Space Marines.
No, the reverse.
Oh my god.
That would be so sick.
That would be very sick. Oh,
Who
that would
doesn't
be
love a good
awesome.
Primaris?
Every
Space Marine.
year. Or no,
A new
here
one
actually
every
this would
year.
be the best prompt. Send me the plastic model that you can find the worst like undercuts on. That's what I want.
Legion
But-
Imperialis,
Yeah,
or
that
whatever,
would
the new
be
epic scale game, seems
yeah.
like a good candidate for that.
Well, yeah. I would say
then
in
you'd have
terms
to
of
have
the
that.
undercuts on newer plastic models, they're not very common, or at least they're not too extreme. But my favorite are whenever they make the studded Space Marine shoulder pads. There are bad undercuts on some of the studs, and I love seeing people like professional like Golden Demon caliber painters and stuff painting the undercuts, and it's like, god, it looks so bad.
Not everybody knows what you're talking about, Adam.
Yeah, and that's fine, we don't have to belabor it anymore, but that's my favorite.
It's sick.
That's
See,
cool.
like, the person that would get you and read you want something
Wouldn't
with
even know what it was.
the best undercuts, they'd be like, I don't know what that is, Adam.
Yeah, that's true.
What's an undercut?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is true. So
Yeah.
that
And
we
they
can
then
maybe
send
get
you
some cool Space
an
Marines.
action figure of Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat and say something about uppercuts.
That's kind of cool.
That would be sick.
That would probably be better
That would be better,
than
honestly.
getting a Games Workshop product.
Greg, you're just a hater.
I hate everything except
Did you see
giving
how much they
people stuff.
phoned in the new Kill Team box with the striking scorpions and
No,
some,
is
like,
there?
sprouts?
Did
I
they
heard
show
people
more
were bummed out
that?
about it.
I think it was put up as like this Sunday it will be like the pre-order. And like before the Kill Team thing would come with 2 Kill Teams and terrain. This time it comes with 2 Kill Teams and 4 or 5 tiny pieces of scatter terrain, and then you
That's.
can buy a separate terrain
Oh
board that
no!
is
Seriously?
the most meaningless. Like imagine, the Sector Mechanicus stuff that I painted some at the start of the year. Imagine that, but taking 80% of it and
Mm-hmm.
removing that and just having some walkways, and then you would get Killzone Beta Decima.
That
That sounds
sounds.
What a
Holy
sick
fuck!
cool.
name, by the way.
Holy shit!
In
It
the
is
coming soon
pretty.
thing. It's
Holy shit!
it's
They
not great.
literally, they give you nothing.
What's it called? Kill Team?
Salvation.
Salvation is the Kill Team thing, but if you scroll
Yeah, there
down,
isn't anything in there. Holy fuck.
but if you scroll down, you can
That's
buy a
weird.
separate presumable
Okay,
I hope
terrain
it's
box.
$125.
Beta Decima.
It
Fucking.
What a
doesn't even
name.
give you the barricades that you need to play the actual game.
That's funny.
How did they do that?
Hmm.
Oh, that's Games Workshop. I get it. That
Why
makes
is
sense.
beta spelled with an H also?
Yeah, they're being edgy.
I love that. Also, oh, that's pretty rough. I'll admit.
See,
Yeah.
stuff like that makes no sense, and then they'll come out with like holiday boxes where like the new Tyranid one, with like $500 of value, and they're selling it for $100.
Yeah, that doesn't
It's
come
Perhaps
very
like-
they're just
often.
trying to pull people in.
Yeah, but
Type
it's like
deal.
how can you make? I mean, the prices are still pretty insane, but how can you make such a good decision and then such a bad decision with
They're
Beta
trying to
Decima?
get rid of old excess stock that no one
Yeah.
wants.
Yeah,
But no, it does kind of shine a light on like you can sell it for this price.
You just choose
But-
not to.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Let's make up our money on this really stupid box set. I mean, that's
Somewhat
literally the
interesting that unless it's a Space Marine, it probably doesn't really sell. So like there's that new Necromunda dune buggy thing that used to be an Elysian drop troop vehicle that now
The
Forces
Venator.
or whatever.
it looks kind of cool, but it had to have been really expensive to make the molds for that, and they won't sell many of them.
no.
Similar to like
excited
all the
for it.
Adeptus Titanicus stuff and all those things. Like they make these really, really expensive plastic molds, and then just no one buys any of it.
Right.
Whereas like if it's a Space Marine, they can make. So I feel because of stuff like that, they like have to make this shit a lot more expensive to try to recoup this and that because no one buys it.
Well,
But, I mean, they make so much on Space Marines, so.
Yeah, they must make. That's where all their bread and butter is.
Did you
I wanna look at the
people hear
numbers.
the rumor for why the Amazon Henry Cavill thing, like nothing's been happening with it?
no.
No.
I mean, obviously this is a rumor and who knows, but supposedly the reason for it was because there's some person maybe somewhat higher up at Games Workshop. This was kind of like their thing, their baby per se,
Mm-hmm.
and they talked with Henry Cavill and kind of set everything up, and then also talked with Amazon and set all the things up. And when they got the contract from Amazon to sign, like they're like others at Games Workshop ask like, "Hey, was this vetted? We should send this through our lawyers to make sure like legally everything is good and whatnot." And then the person convinced them like, yeah, it's all good, we did that. And then as it turned out, they really did not, such that virtually all the profits from the show would just go to Amazon.
That's crazy.
And like anything
Sounds
like
right, though. I
IP
mean-
related stuff with Space
Yeah.
Marines and such would primarily go to Amazon and not Games Workshop. Which
Oof.
I don't know if that's funny. If that's true, it's kind of funny and just speaks to general incompetence.
You think they would drop the ball that hard?
I don't know, but I guess it wouldn't surprise me that much. But it still does seem crazy.
It does. Damn.
But who knows? I kind of never thought it would go anywhere, but hopefully it does, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, do we need a Warhammer TV show? Like, look what they did with the Halo TV show.
That
There was
never
a Halo
even
TV
made
show.
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. There was.
Exactly.
Was it on HBO Max or something?
I think it's on
No.
it. I thought it was on Amazon.
I don't
Or
think
maybe
it's
it
on
was
Amazon
Netflix.
either.
Maybe it was Netflix.
It
It
wasn't
wasn't Netflix
Netflix.
either. It's something else.
I don't
Regardless,
know. But either way, it was so bad, which is insane because I don't know if any of you have really played Halo too much, but I believe it was ODST had the live action trailer for it,
Mm-hmm.
and it was the craziest thing. I remember watching it and being like, "Yeah, I need this game. I've never needed a game more than I've ever needed a game."
Well, I
And-
mean, I don't know. Halo has always held a special place for me. I distinctly remember buying the original Xbox, getting the original game, and you're playing through, and it was pretty cool, atmospheric, and it's like, holy shit, what's going on? What's going on? And then they finally introduced the Flood, this new crazy thing that's killing everyone. And what it is just a flood of golf balls, little golf balls
Like
swarming
flying
in.
in and
It's like,
exploding.
holy shit, dude. Holy shit, guys. Like, you really, that was the best you could come up with. And
because they did do a good job of building the tension.
It's
and
like,
building
Yeah, like oh my
holy
god,
fuck.
what's killing all these people? Like, what's this gonna be? And then like some like softballs fly in and explode.
Listen,
Yeah,
I don't
pretty
wanna hear
bad.
it. When you have a minute, I'm not saying right now, watch that Halo ODST trailer because it is so sick.
I
It's just
should-
a live
ODST.
action.
ODST was cool. That
It
was a
was
good game.
cool.
I mean, I generally liked Halo.
Well, who
Just-
read the novel Fall of Reach by
Oh.
Eric Nyland?
That was me.
I did.
I had the Flood one and the Fall of Reach.
I didn't
That
really
coin
like that
flip
shit.
really changed John's life.
It's true.
Incredible.
I read that book in high school, so it's been a long time.
Yeah.
As I recall, at one point, someone shoots a rocket at him.
Oh no, Greg's gone.
And then
Uh-oh,
what?
Greg died.
Oh,
Greg,
God
you
damn it.
missed
We missed.
something about a rocket.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, they get the idea.
he kicked it.
It was dumb.
Yeah, he kicked it out of the way, a rocket.
He kicked it. That's fucking sweet.
It's
I wish we could
badass.
do that in Halo.
Or that's my remembrance of it. I could be making that
I
up in
remember you
some
telling me
capacity.
about that, Greg, years and years ago. So
I
I think it probably
I remember
happened.
reading that book.
No reason to read it.
I think it probably
Yeah.
happened.
Could be
Incredible. God damn.
incredible. Yeah.
Well, so
Did Gage, you finished playing Baldur's Gate 3?
not yet.
Okay.
It's a big ass,
It's-
okay?
It's a big game.
Yeah, it's good.
And,
I beat it. Like 140
my attention
hours
span-
into it.
Yeah, I'm 65 in, and I'm like a little into Act 2.
Okay, yeah, it's
My God.
long. But
Is that fun?
I'm having a blast.
65
It's-
hours in a story game. That's crazy.
I'm going
put
I'm going out
140
of
into a story.
every which way I can to find out every little detail I can, and
That's a lot.
It's cool. Like the characters are pretty engaging. The combat system is generally fairly fun.
mhm.
Lots of interesting things to find, and
That's like
Yeah,
why I
it's good.
stopped playing Divinity Original Sin 2, because I felt there was too much going on at all times.
I
I
didn't
mean, you
feel
picked up
playing this
Skyrim
like
again.
I didn't feel
Nothing wrong
playing
there.
that it ever really felt that way. Like there was too much. Maybe in the third act when you get to Baldur's Gate, like it's kind of like there's too much shit, and
Well, tell
you
me
don't
about
know
the
is any of this
Gond
fun.
Gate, Eric. Tell me about that.
I don't even know what the fuck that is.
That's
tell
one of
me,
the other
did
fucking
you-
gates.
Oh yeah, well I don't know it, man.
Now,
I'm not
who
a
here
big
bought
movie fan.
the new Skyrim for their refrigerator? Now, who bought that?
Sick. I mean, if I can get Skyrim on a new platform, I'm gonna do it.
Did anyone else see how No Man's Sky didn't win a single award because it was so bad? Or not No Man's Sky,
Not No Man's
Starfield.
Sky.
Starfield, sorry.
That's sick.
They're both so bad that
That's sick.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. No Man's
Man's
Sky
Sky,
is
I've heard,
way
became
better of a
good.
game. Yeah.
That's really funny.
Became good years and years after it was
Years
released.
later.
Wasn't that
There's
true
no
with Skyrim
chance.
too?
Starfield
No, Skyrim was sick from day one.
Starfield
Mm,
could never become sick because it is a
It has
Bethesda game.
It has no soul.
I mean, yeah, it's a Bethesda game. We're on the right track here.
Listen,
Yeah.
check yourself, all right?
you just
Morrowind
took
has
an
more
arrow
soul.
to the knee.
Well, it's been a long time since Morrowind.
And half
Yeah,
that studio
I mean,
left and
yeah.
became Obsidian, right?
Yeah, which is who made New Vegas, which is why New Vegas is good.
New
Right.
Vegas
Pillars of
was
Eternity.
good, I think.
The writing
Yeah.
was better and more interesting.
Much
But it's
better.
still in the general lifeless 3D hellscapes. That is that game.
That is my life.
I just felt like if any time I feel there is a Bethesda game and someone is talking at you, like it zooms right up into the poorly animated characters
Yeah, it does.
with the mediocre dialogue, and like you realize like, wow, I just don't care. Whereas Baldur's Gate shows that it could be done differently. Like
I
it
haven't
doesn't have
found
to look like
a conversation where I wanted a text option that wasn't there. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
whereas like every Bethesda game, it's like, well, I wouldn't react this way, and it's like, no, I either kill this guy on the spot or I walk his dog. Like, there's no, everything is so linear in those games.
Yeah, and I just feel like to me, in a lot of cases, even if you feel somewhat immersed in like what you're doing or the world you're going through, the moment like you see another character, they're like horrible animation and it
You're
zooms
out.
in, like you're completely or very quickly removed from it for elements like that.
But not with the VAT
I mean, I can
system in
understand.
Fallout.
I can understand that back in Morrowind times, but like now with the amount of money it can put into it, like it still is always the same. Like it is another Bethesda game.
And that's the
some
craziest part. Is just the budget is so crazy and it's still just the same product.
And like
Yeah.
of the Fallout, like I feel I've played the only Fallout games I've played is Fallout, Fallout 2, 3, and New Vegas, and the best to me are still the first two. And
That's what everyone says.
part of it is in some sense I think is because it's the isomorphic style that there's still more of that theater of the mind and you imagining the characters and talking. It's not like let's zoom right into their poorly animated face and like see like, yeah, wow, that's bad looking, or like that sounds dumb. Like you can just think about it so it stays cool. And I think Baldur's Gate 3 still has the like animated and kind of zooms in, but it's voiced well enough and animated well enough that like you don't feel like immediate like this disjointedness, and it doesn't pull you out this quickly. And
Right.
for the amount of characters and such, and different random nobodies that you can talk to. There's just so much voice acting in it that like it never seems like, oh, this person's talking again.
We know what's crazy
Just
too is
the
the
amount of
speak.
effort.
Have you used speak with animals a lot?
Not a lot, but
If there's something out there, you cast speak with animals, there's a text option and you can have a whole dialogue with random animals that are just out there. I'm like
It's the
talking to
same-
squirrels and he's telling me about like the mad caps, the red caps quest, like a zone away, and I'm like, why does this squirrel know more information than was given to me in this other area? It's
By the
crazy.
guy giving me the job.
Yeah, it's so nuts, and it's like it's little things
It's
like that. I think
nuts.
that oh my god, boo!
Gross.
But
Yeah,
it pulls
dude.
you in so much with little things like that.
So there's one store like you can create your own character, you can play one of the quote unquote and like other
Mm-hmm.
player characters
Mhm.
that's in your party, but you can also play what is it called? There's another play style shit.
The bad guy run,
The
the
bad
Dark
thing.
Urge.
Yeah, the Dark Urge that the first major time you come into contact with an animal that you could talk to, if you're the Dark Urge and don't have speak with animals, a somewhat surprising thing happens.
Yeah.
That is funny. I've heard the Dark Urge playthrough is pretty great in that it like forces you to make pretty uncomfortable decisions that have very meaningful impacts.
I'm paladin right now, so I can't even make bad decisions in my main run, let alone real bad guy decisions. Like I don't know if I could
Yeah.
have the heart for it.
Well, I've heard some of that stuff is somewhat hard, in that like it's not clear. Like it isn't telegraphed as to like what's the evil thing, kind of like you were saying. Like, oh,
Mm.
like it's not like Mass Effect where they literally color code the dialogue options so you don't actually have to read what you're doing. You can just like, I'm good character, I choose blue.
Yeah.
But
That's
in this case, I
bad.
think it kind of goes the opposite way that like you almost in some sense if you're playing a paladin, like you almost have to save scum it a little bit because like I don't think this will break my oath if I say this, but maybe.
I've been good so far. So
Okay.
and I'm doing devotion, so it's like, oh, if I ever catch you stealing, I have to kill you. There's no
Mm.
Do you
there's no
then go
middle
to
ground there.
jail for
Nope,
killing
you're
people?
dead. You're dead. Oh, can you go to
There-
jail for killing people?
Like,
No,
would
I mean
you go to?
people will attack you depending on where you do things.
Sometimes weird shit happens, like some people like aggro or whatever, like they're bad goblins in a town or whatever, and like you save the humans or the other townsmen by killing the goblins, then go to like loot the corpse, and they're like, why are you stealing this? It's like I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
fucking saved your fucking ass from these fucking goblins.
There's some weird, especially in that goblin area, there's some weird political, like some of the goblins
Yeah.
hate the other ones, but just because they hate them doesn't mean that they hate the ones back.
Yeah,
So if
yeah.
you fuck with them, they'll hate you, but not vice versa. It's real weird.
Yeah. Well, we don't have to keep talking about it, but the game's good. It's a good
Yeah, I can't
game.
wait to keep playing.
I can't wait not to play it.
It is a big commitment.
Keep your 160 hours of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'll
So
waste them
much.
some other way.
Oh yeah, obviously.
It would be better to play Disco Elysium, though. It's still the better game.
Yeah.
That game rocks.
I need to
Or
play
at least
it.
to me. Like, I love the fact that it's story driven and they're like, you know what, we could just remove combat out of it completely because it just doesn't matter and you probably wouldn't be doing that.
That's great.
And that's really nice.
Oh,
Like, I don't know if people have played Planescape Torment, like the 1997.
Yeah,
I
baby.
mean, our
game.
boy Gage has a tattoo of the
Yeah.
Planescape, whatever.
But like that, I thought was an amazing game. Good characters. There
Yeah,
it is.
boy.
Fucking
There it
sick.
Good
is.
characters and really engaging. but it sure did suck that you had to play Advanced Dungeons and Dragons to experience that.
Yeah.
The combat was wonky and terrible.
Well, yeah, it was like 2nd edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, like combat shit, and
The random spawner of like mercenaries just coming out of nowhere and going, "Hey, Cutter," and then just attack you, and you're like, "What did I do?"
yeah, I mean, it was still fine, but like that was such a afterthought, and it's just like, we use this system in Baldur's Gate, like, let's do it again. And yeah, I like that Disco Elysium were like, they had the metacognition and like thoughtfulness to realize like that you don't have to just put in a stupid D20 combat system just because it's an RPG.
Right.
If like it's not that relevant to you. But I thought it was interesting. It was done well enough that I always thought there was a possibility that combat could eventually present itself throughout the game.
It doesn't. Spoiler. I'm maybe
I mean,
halfway through it.
I won't even comment as to whether it did or doesn't. Like, it's maybe not 100%
It's funny as
clear
hell.
cut.
It's
is really
funny.
funny. Did both of you play it, or?
I didn't play it.
I have owned it probably since the day it came out, and I've never launched it.
It's really worth playing. Like, it is hilarious, and
I maybe played 20 hours of it, and it's
it's great. It's probably honestly, it's probably my favorite game now. For a while, I probably would have said Planescape Torment. Yeah, but it's really good. It's good.
yeah, it's great.
We've been rambling on about this and that. Do we want to record something that's more hobby focused and pertaining to reflections on this year? Like, we don't have to do that, but we could do that.
We can do it.
Sure.
Okay.
Will we talk about people's favorite somethings from the year? Like, what's the coolest RPG product that you bought and didn't play?
Yeah, I could
We
do
certainly
that.
can.
Don't matter. Like, God, Gage. Yeah, all right,
take
well,
your take your pick.
Yeah, okay.
You meant this year.
Yeah.
This year.
Take your
Brett
pick.
probably sent a small portion of that to you.
Yeah, Gage just got RPGs. All that's for this year.
yeah.
Pirate Borg.
Still in the shrink
Not
wrap,
bad.
boys.
I keep hearing it's great, but man, that front cover is just
It's not good.
it's not good.
It's not a great cover.
Oh, I got one. I mean, I don't know if you call this an RPG, but it like blends the realm, I think.
Oh
Chaos.
yeah,
That's cool.
That's good.
that looks
also-
nicely done.
It's a brand new one.
Yeah, so I would like to get a copy of that at some point. Did they have both of them?
No, I had to
Okay.
pay extra to have someone send it to me.
Okay.
I hit up multiple people that I knew lived in the area, being like, "Can you just like pop in and check if it's there next time you're there?" And each time it was never there. And then finally, someone went out of their way to go get it, and it was there, and they bought it and shipped it for me. So it ended up costing more because shipping from there, but it was worth it.
Yeah, maybe I'll have to do a similar thing because I feel like I don't really want many GW books in my life because they're kind of meaningless. But those I feel are ones that
They feel
have
timeless.
relevance. Yeah. And could be more useful. It's not just the fucking Dark Angels Codex reprinted ad nauseum.
No,
Changes.
I will say
Yeah.
GW's like way of handling this was so poor. I almost didn't want to buy it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like when
Because-
I was there buying just Realm of Chaos with Gage,
Mhm.
they didn't have this, and I was like very hung up on the fact that I couldn't get both. And I'm like,
Mhm.
why do I want one if I can't have both? That feels bad and incompletionist, and that's not how I like to
Mhm.
do books like that. But I asked, like, can I have it? Like, can I buy it? Like, pay for it and have it shipped? to a GW near me, and they're like, no, we don't do anything like that. You have to pick it up here. And I'm like, so everyone else in the world that wants this book has to come here to get that. Do you know how insane that is? Like,
And like there's no guarantee that it would even be there.
that's
Exactly.
I'm like, I'm here right now. Like, he's like, oh, well, you just pop in next time, and I'm like, what the fuck do you mean next time? I'm from America.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I will be interested to see, because didn't they put up like kind of a print on demand thing for Rogue Trader?
They did,
I'll be
and I imagine
interested
it's
to
coming.
see
It's
to
still the
see
180-day wait time,
if
though.
that's of a similar quality. So
I imagine it's the same as this. Like, I imagine these are print on demand by Warhammer Worlds,
Yeah.
like when they run out. And they don't print more until they run out and people are like, hey, do you have this?
Yeah, okay. Because hopefully it's of a high quality, but
It's pretty good. The binding, like the spine, has gotten really beat up from very minimal. Like, it was shipped here, so that probably got it beat up a little bit, but all the edges are pretty fucked up on it already.
okay. Well, all right. Well, if people are ready, I'm gonna start recording, and I'll say my stupid shit
We're
about
ready.
introducing the podcast and introduce you all. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Dragged Into Turbolasers, a miniature wargaming podcast from the people behind the blog Between the Bolter and Me. I'm your host, Eric Wire, and I'm here with my two brothers, Adam Wire,
Hey, everybody.
Greg Wire,
Hey, everyone.
and I'm excited to also be here with two people from the Hive Scum podcast, Steve and Gage. Nice to have you both here.
Hello.
Hey, everybody.
Yeah, so good to have both of you here. Like, you've been on the podcast and some of our streams before, but I thought with the year 2023 coming to a close, it might be fun to have you both on again to just chat and reflect a little bit on the year. Particularly because it seems like we've been almost like lifelong friends now, but in actuality, we only met you this year
Yeah.
because of your New England Mordheim Open that was this year, and like that's kind of crazy.
It is very crazy. It definitely feels, I feel the same way. Like, I've known
Yeah.
you a lot longer than that.
Yeah, it certainly
Yeah.
feels like we've been in contact for a little while, but we have not. So wild.
Also meeting up at 3 events together, right?
Was it
Well,
that many?
Greg was at
Greg-
three.
I was at.
Yeah, yeah.
But
What
yeah,
a great
yeah, but
event.
Nemo.
Greg's a real
Nemo.
trooper.
Yeah. The Virginia, the Rich Grimmond event.
Yeah,
Greg
Greg
had
came up.
great fortune to help continue to play test your mech game. That's cool.
Flames
He
of
did.
Orion.
We did.
But
Hell
yeah,
yeah.
so it seems like it's been a big, I don't know, exciting year, both I think for our blog and podcast, but then also for you all and Hive Scum, which I guess you've started Hive Scum, like the podcast, in that was probably 2022 now.
Like right around the end of it, yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
December.
Boy, the first episode, I think maybe you recorded it like the day after Christmas or something. Or
Yeah.
that's what I recall from what
Okay,
you had
okay.
been talking about.
Yeah, so that in itself is kind of crazy that now it's been going for, like pretty much a year now, and it also
And you have
seems
like
like
20 some episodes
It's good.
already.
quite
21
following.
episodes.
We're going on 22 this Sunday.
We recorded 23, but we don't talk about the lost episode.
I talk about it. I think it's funny.
Sick.
That is funny. Would you like to talk about it? Gage says you don't talk about it, but like you could talk about it here.
He was a perpetrator, so he should be able to talk about it.
Yeah, I was the reason it was a bad episode.
Damn.
So bad that
Terry's sound pad, his sampler was present, and we just recorded the most meme sounds possible of just fart noises and wow effects and yeah.
Yeah.
It's taking everything in me to not hit the sad horn button right now on the soundboard.
Yeah, Discord is really trying to lean into that, right? To
That's sick.
allow all those dumb sounds, but
I mean, that's streamers and stuff. They need that stuff, maybe. Do they?
it's important.
Yeah. Well, we always joked that we needed it too, and then halfway through the episode, Phil just was like, I'm
This is
over
not a
this.
podcast.
I will leave if this continues.
I mean, that's funny because even in your regular episodes, I feel there is often kind of joking about professionalism and, like, for example, the No Rules podcast episode, and I don't know, just stuff like that, joking about Vin
We're a
Diesel.
serious
episodes
podcast,
Yeah.
okay?
But they're funny. Your episodes are funny. I
They
laugh when I'm listening to them. Whereas I
Some-
think
Yeah.
our
Ours are not funny.
podcast episodes, like all three of us sound the same, unexcited all the time.
I mean,
Sometimes that makes me laugh.
not excited. Sometimes, maybe.
Maybe.
I mean, yeah, I feel while both Dragged Into Turbolasers and Hive Scum, you may be able to describe them as like Inq28 or Inq28 like adjacent sort of
Mm-hmm.
podcasts. They serve kind of a different role. I feel this podcast tends to be more like interviewing people who are doing things within that orbit, whereas yours is more about like a bunch of friends who are interested in such things, chatting and hanging out. And I don't know, that I think is inherently fun because
Mhm.
you can be doing your own hobby related things, listening to it, and almost feel like you're sort of a part of that and
Yeah.
part of that community in a deeper level than just like cruising through Discord or doom scrolling through Instagram accounts and so forth.
That's definitely the vibe we try and capture. Everyone always jokes about when we'll become the interview podcast and the serious podcast, and it's like
I feel like the new episode is the most serious we've ever done.
Yeah, we got through 22 episodes before realizing that, a main topic is good for our brains, let alone the listeners. Like, you can only talk about Vin Diesel for so long before
You say that, but every episode it
one of
gets
the
better.
hosts wants to quit.
Every episode has more people listening, so I don't know if it's a bad thing. I think just enough people haven't heard us talk about Vin Diesel
There's
yet.
a direct correlation to listeners and Vin Diesel topics, so
Yeah, I mean, there's
Yeah, it's just
obviously
one of the things that will eventually go away. Like you used to talk about friends of the pod all the time, not anymore. You used to have Phil facts every episode, not anymore. Eventually, Vin Diesel will be a thing of the past, and one day I'll wake up and think, you know what? I haven't heard about Vin Diesel on Hive Scum in a while.
I can't wait for that day.
When you text me that, just let me know. I'll fix it.
Come back.
in some sense, your podcast reminds me a little bit of a Gunpla podcast called The Cutting Mat. I don't know if you're familiar with it, like the Holy Printing, some of those people.
Yeah.
And they were also have sort of a similar vibe, just a bunch of friends hanging out, chatting, and laughing about stuff. And they would just so often talk about Tony Hawk and like their friend Tony Hawk and like why hasn't
Like,
hasn't
please
Tony
call
Hawk-
us. Like, why haven't you called us?
And I don't know, it's just really funny every time it happened. And I don't know, some of your Vin Diesel things and stuff of that nature remind me of it in like a good way.
We'll have to get him on.
Yeah, get
You
him
like
on.
D&D? He's a D&D guy.
Well, one of the more recent episodes, you played some of his music.
Oh, it rocks.
Yeah.
That was
So,
it wasn't.
abysmal.
Did you hear the behind the scenes of that?
I don't think
I don't know.
So Steve, I say, yeah, Vin Diesel's music is awful, and then Steve's like, no, I gotta check it out. So he plays it, and Terry's mixing it live on the mixer
Oh, it
while
was
we're
awesome.
recording. It sounded better than the recording, but in the middle of that, we just finished. This was like we're maybe a week into the studio, I think.
Mm-hmm.
The door flies open and a guy just marches in, and I'm like, oh great, we're getting a sound complaint. We haven't even been in our studio a week. We're fucked. Oh
Yeah.
no. and the building owner is like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I want to be here. My granddaughters are taking pictures," which we never figured out what the hell that was. But
They were taking pictures of us and
yeah,
our stupid
of the
setup.
studio, of this weird thing. But insane circumstance, the building owner is a doctor that ended up saving my life in a car crash, like when I was 16.
Oh my
So
gosh.
so I get up and I'm like, "Oh, hey, like, do you remember me?" And he's like, "Of course not." And I'm just telling him about it. Like, he cut me open and saved my life. And we thought it was all recorded, but Terry said it was just inaudible enough to just be like mumbling. And
Okay.
Okay.
Whoa.
but
Shame.
just to go from like this, we're all dying laughing about Vin Diesel music
Yeah.
to just immediately like shock and terror that we're getting yelled at, and then pouring my heart out to this random guy. It was a very weird day.
That's
Wow.
funny. Well, that's the strength of those dynamic microphones.
That's it.
Nice off-axis rejection. Real good. Real good. But that's funny. Well, I guess in the vein of just sort of reflecting on 2023, do you have any just general thoughts about the year? And like, did you anticipate, honestly, at this, even at the start of this year, starting the podcast, that within a year you would have your own studio, all these listeners, and probably help to continue to grow in Rust We Trust, your like the Discord you somewhat run, to grow so much and in such a short time?
The podcast, I both at the same time thought no one is going to listen to this at all, or on the direct opposite side, oh well, no one else does a podcast that is listenable. Like, so yes, I think people will listen to this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think at this point we hadn't really discovered any Inq28 specific or adjacent style podcasts, so it was just like the big 40K type
Yeah.
pods that we were
Yeah.
used to, and we're like, this is just awful content. Like, nobody actually listens to this. So
Some
it
of the
was like,
lower hammer stuff, like
yeah, I mean, like, there's information there, but it is everyone falls asleep 10 minutes in. You can't tell me
yeah,
that they listened the whole way through. So it was kind of like, this is definitely a different space, and maybe this will be popular because we all crack each other up. Like, we'd be doing this without the mics anyway.
yeah.
But I could say the fast growth, I don't think any of us were prepared for at all. Even walking in the studio now, every time I'm in there, I'm like, this is real. Like, this is a real thing because of us just shit talking about a thing we love. Like, this is insane.
Is all the recording stuff just in there?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's nice. Such that it
Might have to do
still
some house shows soon, but
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's it's cool to see that it has grown and there's kind of excitement about that, and it kind of makes me reflect on things like so. Drag Into Turbolasers has been going on for I don't know, probably 5+ years now, so it's been a long time. And since that time, like I helped start another podcast, like 28 Magazine's podcast
Hmm.
32, and like that is already like leapfrog far ahead of Dragged Into Turbo Lasers like listenership, which is sort of funny. But I guess that just goes with the territory. Like I think 28 Magazine has a bigger reach than the three of us complaining about the
Trigger
scale of
discipline.
miniatures, which we don't actually do that much in
That's on
the
our
podcast
live
episodes
streams
anymore.
that yeah.
But still, it's just not the same vibe and energy and so forth. But
Right. When you what started first, the your blog or the pod?
wow.
the
The
blog,
blog.
like I don't know.
2 years maybe. It
No, we
looks like our
started
first
the pod.
episode.
We
The
started the
podcast was
podcast
2016,
like January of 2016 was
and the
basically when we
blog was
released. But the blog was 2018. 13 or something.
Well, that
So-
was soon after we did the whole pilgrim stuff, right?
Yeah.
That true?
Yeah, we record like episode 9 or something was after doing that at Nottingham
Because
Warhammer
that's
World and
sort of
such,
interesting. I almost feel when we first started the blog, our hobby and like what we were doing with it was very different. It was less about making and converting our own things and all that other stuff, and more about just talking about almost like products and stuff. So I
What
feel,
bad
We're not
GW
that-
product is out?
or well, I mean, we started out talking about like Dreadball and shit. Like,
yeah, our first post was about a shitty Mantic game. Jesus,
yeah,
Like the first blog post, you mean?
mm-hmm.
our first blog post. I mean, it's a okay game, but
Yeah, it
I'll
was
never
fun
play
enough.
it again.
Yeah.
Was the intent of the blog ever to get it to the point where it's at now with you guys, or?
I think
I
it was
feel the
always
intent-
just a means of the three of us to remain connected and talk about hobby related stuff and just wherever that took us, really.
Yeah, in some sense, almost just like a journal to dialogue what we're doing, because we basically started it when we all went off to graduate school, which was the first time that the three of us were, I guess, separated, or that I was.
Yeah.
And so it was just a way to like, hey, this might be a way that we could encourage each other to still be involved in hobby related things. And
Yeah.
then it sort of grew from there. But honestly, within like a year or two, it was already sort of shifting towards more of the Inq28 style stuff. Like it happened fairly quickly, but it has only been in like the latter half of it that like it's been almost entirely that. And
Right.
that's sort of reflected also in a bunch of the initial episodes of the podcast is us just kind of talking about new releases or something and complaining about why we don't like anything GW makes.
Like episode 8 was about the release of the plastic container boxes,
Oh,
like
shit.
the terrain kits with the container boxes. If you
Oh, those
remember them,
rock.
yeah. But then
so-
episode 9, heavy hitter, we were talking about the Pilgrim Inq28 event. So like pretty fast, we were talking about Inq28 stuff. And we'll
Well-
admit it, hell, episode 6, we talked to Alexander Winberry about Path to Glory, and
Kind of
so
sick.
I guess we did interview people earlier than I realized.
but it didn't shift to be like almost completely that until later. But also because of that, and why probably
Yeah.
growth is slow, is like we just aren't that. We don't have a set schedule for it. Like maybe we try to do one a month, but trying to schedule with people overseas or to interview people is hard. And
Yeah.
you know, this is not a full-time job for any of us or any of you, so it's just whatever happens. But I think it is commendable that you have been able to like pretty religiously every other week put out an episode of the podcast. Like that's cool. And I admit I am kind of jealous that you have a recording setup that you are all together in the same room recording. And
That's fun.
that I think like I appreciate that we can do something like this and talk over like Discord such that it can actually happen, but it isn't a substitute for being in the same room and being able to like be across from somebody
To
where you
feed
can
off
kinda
of their
feed off
energy and get excited. Yeah.
Right. Right.
which I
Talking over
admit
each other.
Nemo back to stuff that like happened this year and so forth. Nemo was awesome in that it allowed us for like almost the first time ever since the very first episode of the podcast that we actually recorded an episode of this within the same room. Our very first episode was recorded like a couple days after Christmas. We were just sitting at our parents' kitchen tables all around a Blue Yeti microphone with the like omnidirection setting and just talking, which is part of why the audio is just fucking garbage. But
Sick.
Nemo was an opportunity to bring all my recording stuff and actually sit and chat with people at the event there, and like that was really fun, and it was as good as I kind of anticipated. And then we got to do that also at the Richmond thing, and I don't know, it's really fun, and like yeah, I envy your ability to do that.
Was it awkward when you guys sat down for the first time in 5 years to actually record in person at Nemo?
uh
Not
You're like, wait, I
really.
have to look at you in the face?
Not really. The most awkward thing was like actually Mordheim 2022 and then Nemo and like your community. I feel it was exciting to continue to build these sorts of communities and grow them here in the United States. So it doesn't,
Well, and even
we
to
don't
see
have to
that the
always
community,
go.
the people were already here. We
Yeah,
just
it
maybe didn't
exists.
know it. Yeah.
Right.
That's
right.
exactly it. I think the community 100% exists. Like just within our own friend circle, like our little New England Lore Council that we got going, and like just that group of people pull so many things from the Inq28 community, and like so many people doing such crazy, just between painting and kit bashing and just like house rules, ideas. Just it's there and it exists. It's just you gotta find it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think even stuff like 28 Magazine, I think made it maybe slightly more accessible in showing people that there are all these other ways to enjoy the hobby and helping promote
Absolutely.
things like Turn Up 28 and some of these other smaller game systems and creative endeavors that to do those sorts of things such that
Yeah.
there can be more of a community of that at things like Adepticon, that you Hive Scum and Under the Dice could come together and hold events and pull people into that. And I think that has been cool. And I know you've all talked about that in an episode or two of Hive Scum about kind of how you got involved into these things. And I think that's cool. And I'm just really grateful that we are now connected with some of that stuff and excited to be able to go to Nemo too. Essentially, Nemo
Well,
too.
that was like the whole idea was, Paul shows me this thing going on down in Texas. Like, yo, you got to check this out. Like the Mordheim event that Bill did, and we're just sitting there like, man, that's so sick. I wish that could like we could do that, or like I wish I was going to that. And then after we saw like the Eric's Hobby Workshop video and all the content coming out of it, we're like, fuck that, let's fucking do our own.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of snowballed, and it rocked. It blew our expectations out of the water.
I feel like a lot of it too comes like what you were saying, Eric, who are the 28 mag in Rust, any of these things, just bringing it to people's attention, realizing that you can do things like this. Like Hondius being at a library is, I think, the most important takeaway from that entire event. Anyone can come up with a 3-sentence hook to get people excited on this kit bash prompt, and then people are renting RVs to go play with toy soldiers in a library. Like
It's very
any of it
attainable.
can, yeah, it's very obtainable for anyone.
No, yeah, I agree with that. And like, yeah, because I don't know, it was exciting to do like the Nemo thing, and like a few months later, the Rich Grimmond in the library there, and to actually be playing some of these games. Oh my goodness, you got some popcorn there. But yeah, but to be actually playing games was, I don't know, somewhat surprising in that like we would very rarely actually do that. Like maybe every couple years, some Inq28 event, we'd go out and play something. But because stuff like Nemo and like the building of those communities like we've actually played a bunch of games, and like that's fun. It's fun to have an additional reason to build some models and see some friends and that sort of thing. Because without some impetus like that, it can be very easy to not do things.
Well,
Right.
I
Yep.
found listening to Hive Scum, all of you are constantly playing games, and that is not, or has traditionally not been, the three of us.
It's a lot easier given our proximity, but our group chat, uh, someone will send a.
Stop.
It doesn't stop. Someone will send a picture of this of a Battlefleet Gothic ship, and then the next thing you know, someone's got the PDF of the rules and like, yo, this rule sounds really cool. We need to try it out. Next thing you know, Terry's got a ship painted for it. And he goes, all right, I'm ready to play. And we're like, well, I guess we have to play now. And it just keeps going on like that. And then, I mean, lately, the studio has been nothing other than Games Workshop's Lord of the Rings, Middle Earth Strategy, battle companies. So it's
Oh my god.
You know what I really like about Games Workshop's Lord of the Rings?
Strategy, battle game, battle company, Legion.
Yeah, that's all we've really been playing lately. But Bill Ford was up here for work recently, and we got to play some Mordheim, and that was really fun to take a little break and play the game that really got us all got a lot of this going.
And not just Middle Earth strategy, battle game, battle companies, The Hobbit, and The Lord of the Rings.
correct.
By Games Workshop.
Yeah.
Incredible.
But the going back to the podcast side of it is the second you bring that up to the three listeners out there, they are excited on it, and then they're posting about it, and then it's just this circle of
Yeah.
seeing what you want come to fruition immediately, where people are like, oh, I'm making up a Hobbit warband for Middle Earth strategy, battle games, battle companies, and it's like, okay, well,
I might not still be playing it by the time I see you, but
yeah, we, I mean, a little behind the scenes, when the last war, we were so hyped on last war. By the time we played so much of it, we had our last war day. By the time the episode came out, we were all so burnt on last war. People are sending us war bands. They're so excited to play, and we're like, cool, that's awesome. We'll play one day with you, but right now we're on something else. So
Damn.
I think it's just proximity, and then the studio has just amplified that.
Yeah, that's funny. Like, it's hard for me to imagine playing a miniature game so much that you are kind of tired of it, other than any Games Workshop game, because after playing one game of it, like, it's
You're
tough to
probably
wanna go
done.
further.
Yeah.
that's
I
the
would
sick thing
say-
about sick thing about the Lord of the Rings game though is I feel like you could go back to back games and it's not like overbearing.
Yeah,
Okay.
that game is very light, but I would say Burnout probably comes more from aesthetic than anything. Whereas World War One is an aesthetic that you could get very minimal interest in before you're overwhelmed or just bummed out.
Yeah.
Because we have been, for like our Vestarian Open Invitational stuff, Adam and I and a few others have been playing a bunch of games with, the various Imperial cults and using a few different systems and so forth, just to try to find, like, is there a rule system that we think is fitting? And Necromunda's kind of fun, but, like, God, it is so bloated.
A lot of rules.
Even using the, like, updated core rule book, like, you still need books for the gang lists and so forth. And while there are just so many little special rules for weapons and such, and it somewhat helps, like, for the world building aspect, but most of them ultimately are not that meaningful for the normal game to game sort of stuff. But it still requires, like, wait, I should flip back and check this. That kind
Yeah.
of can break the flow of the game. And
Yes.
also, so much of the game is based around progression and your advancement and wounding systems and stuff for campaign play. And that's ultimately, even though I like those things, it's ultimately something that I don't envision doing a lot of because I'm more thinking of this as like a setting to play some games at like something like Adepticon or at like a weekend event or whatnot. And for game like that or an idea like that, it really doesn't need to have that much of that progression experience stuff in it and characters dying because you're just not going to play enough of it.
Hmm.
And like you probably also don't need to like, oh, I played the first game with this warband I converted, spent 3 months converting, like half of the models permanently died in the first game and now I can't use them. Like
Yep.
I don't think that adds much to it. Whereas if it was
No.
something that like you plan to play every Wednesday night for the next couple months with your friends, like then I think
Hmm.
that has value. But so
Right.
because of it, I think a lot of like finding a rule system that fits with what we want to do, I think has been somewhat hard. And even something like Forbidden Psalm is pretty rules light for the core system. But since every character has like a feat, a flaw, and all these other potential
Hmm.
special rules and stuff, it's still somewhat dense or easy to like just forget about all this stuff and not use it at all or have to reference things that
Omens in Forbidden Psalm
Mm.
go forgotten
Oh
every
yeah.
time I play. Everyone goes, "Oh wait, omens are a thing in this game," and it's like,
when I recently for I put a post up recently about showing some like warband lists for Necromunda, Forbidden Psalm, and one of Ramshackle games mini gangs, which I think you played when you were in
mhm,
uh, Nottingham. But I specifically just took Forbidden Psalms like kill sample process, so like the cyborg themed one, and yeah, there are feats, there are flaws, there are mutations, there are cyber mods. The weapons can have like different cyber ammo, and like there's just so much stuff that you have to somewhat be aware of that it still is kind of dense and hard to work with.
See, I like that though. Like I like the option. Like I know it's not what you're looking for, but when you're looking at a game and I'm like, oh, I can pick exactly what gun and I can like upgrade them and like I have all these things I can do in this one section that is equip your character. I think that's like very
Well,
allows
yeah.
for a lot of customization.
Well, I
I
think
do appreciate that it's all in one book. Like that's much better than Necromunda.
Yeah.
But I guess I want to do that customization and stuff from a model in like a modeling perspective and building characters. It doesn't matter as much to me to have very dedicated rules to convey that when all these games end up being like roll, you have a 50% chance of being successful at what you're doing unless there's reason to believe it's harder than that.
yeah,
Like
I
they're
think a
all
lot
the
of that
games still
stuff.
ends up being similar.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff. I do sort of appreciate the systems that have a lot of that because, and like I mean, Necromunda has a lot of it really as well. Um,
Yeah.
and I sort of like it as a means to help guide and give you ideas about how you could make something or like aspects that you could include in a particular character or something. Like I think they can help give you ideas or inspirations for things, or even as simple as like some of the Realms of Chaos books and stuff had things where you could like sort of randomly generate mutations and other stuff like that. I think they have a place and they can add a lot, but when it comes down to playing the games and stuff, not everyone is going to be as interested or as invested in some of that stuff, and it can often sort of sometimes even take away from the actual gaming experience.
Yeah, I think Forbidden Psalm, the rule set does kind of work best if it's just like, I would like to build a cool warband. Like, I'm just going to roll it up, see what it is, and then use that, what you rolled, as an inspiration to build the models. It's a bit harder going the opposite way. in that
Yeah.
there's some very specific rules that might not be relevant to things you created, and then like you feel like, oh, I guess I'll just pick and choose for this character, but still none of these are relevant. And yeah, I don't know, it's a different thing, but I do appreciate, yeah, when there are rule systems that do help encourage, creativity, like Forbidden Psalm and those systems do.
Yeah.
I thought that post that you made of making the same warband in multiple systems is just so important for the community as a whole to understand that
Well, and,
you're not tied to anything. It's
and
it's
it is
all
interesting.
fluid.
Yeah, it's interesting that I posted a picture on Instagram of it, kind of saying like, "Hey, we have a post on the blog about this with some different rule sets, and like for the same basic models and different rule sets." And the person was like, "Hey, I'm kind of excited about building some models, but don't really play much. And is it all right to build models and not look at the rules?" And it's like, yes, that's what we would prefer you do.
Yeah, like
Like
Like,
your
that's
cool
this is
models.
more like a secondary thing that if we would like to play games, or like a lot of people do come into the 28 ethos sort of thing from more basic, like I played 40K before, like Age of Sigmar,
mm,
and after some years of just playing those basic games, like straight from the box, as GW tries to market it, they like realize like, hey, I'd kind of like to do my own thing. So I essentially just, after a couple months after announcing the open invitation, I was like, I should probably put something up just showing like, hey, like if you are interested in the rules, like you could do that, but it's not how we typically approach
but
creating
yeah.
models and whatnot.
Well, like I think for instance, like for real, the one character in the warband, sort of like the pseudo leader of the warband. Like if you look in the thing you did for the Forbidden Psalm, like kill sample process thing, like that character, like we have a fair amount of background about that character, motivations, some little short stories with them and everything. And so we sort of came up with a lot about that character. And then you went in and essentially found different rules, almost like keywords and stuff for the character, and then sort of worked them into the character and some of that. So I think that is kind of a neat thing, and you could easily just on figure out a whole bunch of interesting things to go into a character and then kind of come up with a background around that stuff. And that could be kind of a neat way to approach kind of coming up with different characters and stuff.
Right, right.
Because interestingly, yeah, like in that process of like, I initially made a Necromunda gang just based on essentially the things we came up with, and I just like from the what trading post just got the things that I wanted. Like
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have any restriction other than that. And but looking at some of the other rule systems, it was like, how can we fit that in this rule system and maybe do some rolling, like roll to see what flaws in Forbidden Psalm you get, and like could that actually inform some like kind of narrative concepts for these characters. And for some of that, it was kind of fun to incorporate some of the ideas that I already had surrounding the characters, but in a way like allow those rules to influence some of the narrative decisions. And I think like that was kind of fun, like for the leader sort of character Kirill, like in some of the stories and stuff I wrote, I had him that he is dabbling in using the imperial like tarot card readings and stuff, and that has been since 2016, has kind of come up through some of his lore and dialogue and that sort of thing. And I was able to incorporate that in some of the rules, in some of the the list, and I don't know, like for Forbidden Psalm or the Kill Cyborg version, one of the mutations is like called like is sort of a
Precog.
psychic ability. Yeah, precog, and it's like, you know what, I'm just gonna call that Emperor's Tarot in this, and I don't know, some of that was actually kind of fun trying to modify the basic rules of a game to like, oh, that ability, I think that would work for this thing that I already had in mind for the character, and some of that stuff is kind of fun.
Yeah, I think making rules fit your narrative is it's always like an enjoyable experience when like you can make the puzzle pieces fit together.
Yeah, and it's cool that like you can do it both like to fit the narrative you have, but then also use it to partially expand and
Inform.
give you new
Yeah.
ideas to inform them as well. So I think that is fun
Yeah, and I think
and
ultimately
interesting.
you should approach like the thing however you want to go about it. Like there's no one way to do it. You could base it solely on like I really have fun with this game system, so I'm going to use this however I want to. Like ultimately whatever you find enjoyment in, that's what you should do. But realize there are tons of different ways to approach the stuff, and whatever works well for you is honestly what you should do. And that's not
And
really
whatever
something.
works.
Yeah, it's not something that Games Workshop or many of the other gaming companies are going to be telling you like that's how you should go about it.
Right. I was gonna say, and whatever works to con your friends into playing with you
That too.
in
That's the
that
hardest part.
narrative. That's the more important part.
Yeah.
And part of what, and I kind of tried to emphasize this in the beginning, ultimately it's probably best just to use a rule system that you're familiar with and like, such that it's easier for you to then make modifications to fit what like you want to do and not get super tied down to a rule set or like, oh man, I need to constantly be looking like paging through the rule book to check, is that right? Is that how I should do this? Like I would much rather you be focused in the moment of what's going on and just making choices on the fly in not unlike probably what a lot of just um RPG sessions could be,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. But
We met a guy at PAX Unplugged that actually uses 5th edition, like a ultra modern version of 5th edition, as his go-to game. But he's a total kit basher. That's
Mm-hmm.
so to play their games, he's using a 5th edition system. It's not a good system for that, but whatever works.
Good for him.
Exactly.
mhm. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
fun.
yeah.
Well, so we've talked a bunch about, or at least a little bit about some highlights of the year or cool things that have happened with both our blog, podcast, your podcast, and whatnot. But are there any particular like games or books or things that were released this year, or even music that really caught your eye, or you think other people should know about?
That chained record. 'Cause
Chained to the
we
bottom of
said
the
that we said
ocean.
that earlier, but I'm gonna just repeat it.
Well, that might not have been on the podcast part of our discussion. So,
Exactly.
Chained to the Bottom of the Ocean
Yeah,
released a new
they
album this year.
well they released two, but Obsession Destruction is the first one that they released this year, which is
It's
I mean,
great.
it's probably one of their best that they've done. And then they just released Consumed by the Vitriol of Life.
Which is
Which I
horror.
haven't listened to it yet. Don't tell them, but
Okay.
Sending him a
But yeah,
message
that's
right now.
cool.
no, Paul's gonna be mad at me. Don't do that.
Well, so I first found out about that band, I don't know. It was before I knew about Hive Scum or any of that. Um, because of the band Thou, which they're like the Baton Rouge, Louisiana sludge metal band. I think it's their first full length album, Tyrant, has a song on it, one of the early songs called Fucking Chained to the Bottom of the Ocean.
Mhm.
Um, and then maybe Brian, the singer that Thou tweeted about the band Chained to the Bottom of the Ocean.
Huh.
And I think they did a cover at one point of a Thou song.
They did.
Yes.
Well, they did a cover of a cover.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so I found out about them because of Thou. And then I think reading one of your Under the Dice fanzine issues, I don't remember which one it was. You have an interview.
Yeah.
Was it with Paul?
It
Yeah, with
was.
Paul. And it's like, holy shit, like I know this band.
That's cool.
So yeah, so that was neat. But yeah, good record. Obsession, Destruction, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Or perhaps
Yes.
I have those words switched.
No, you have it correct. Who is the artist, Gage? That was his last work that he did on music on a record.
Marius Ladowski.
Because the album cover is insane. It's like this giant entity ripping its soul in half.
Lewandowski. I'm still butchering it. But he did
He did
oh
that
my
Fuming
gosh.
Mouth album cover.
Fuming Mouth, Mirror Reaper.
Yep.
He did a lot.
Yeah.
To me, the art reminds me a little bit of like Beksinski, and maybe I'm
Yeah.
mispronouncing that Polish artist's name a little bit
Oh yeah,
wrong.
it does look like that.
But the artwork reminds me a little bit of that sort of stuff. But yeah, the cover for Obsession Destruction, it's kind of like somebody trying to tear themselves out of like an amniotic sac or something. Like they're the little capillaries. Like it's wild.
It is.
As far
But yeah,
as
so that's a great
favorite
record.
things for the year, I mean, I feel really on the spot about it. So the best I can come up with that I think honestly stands out the most, Stu Horvath from Vintage RPG put out a book
Yeah,
documenting just RPGs. Yeah, for the last, I don't know, 2 decades.
something and holes in the ground. I don't
Monsters,
remember.
aliens, and holes in the ground. Yeah.
Yeah.
The production on it is insane. It is just a book that I keep out because I'll just pick it up and read a chapter and put it away. But I keep, anytime I have a free second, I'm upstairs, I have to pick that book up.
Okay, that's cool. That sounds like a cool book.
Well, I certainly know I have listened to a bunch of episodes of the Vintage RPG podcast, but that's how I know of Stu Horvath. They have the Vintage RPG podcast where they talk about not just old RPGs, but they do talk about RPGs. Back during the COVID times when like COVID had just hit, I was running some Morkborg sessions, and because I was starting to get more into RPGs at the time, that's when I had found the Vintage RPG podcast and have listened to a bunch of stuff because of that. So I knew that he was writing this book. I haven't purchased it yet, but it goes. It probably starts with. It goes from whenever D&D was created up until pretty recently. I mean,
Yep.
well, heck,
Up
I
to
guess
Mothership.
so a guide from role playing games from D&D to Mothership. So Mothership, I don't know how many years ago was that released? Not too long ago. So
Was it
like
ever
it does.
did it ever actually get the full release? Have
Haven't
books
got my
shipped yet?
copy yet.
Yeah, I was gonna
Oh.
say.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, I've just seen the digital version.
I'm a hater on that game, even though aesthetically and like the idea of it is everything I want in a space RPG. But
Yeah.
after playing it, it was not my favorite.
Okay.
Yeah, so I never played it. Like I have a digital copy of it that I bought around the time when I was playing a bunch of Morkborg sessions, but I didn't even read it for me, it was also like the aesthetics and stuff seemed all about what I would like, but whether the rules are the same, like as in whether there are things that I would love as well, I don't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the Vintage
The
RPG podcast, two of their more recent episodes, each of them talk about books that were released this year that they like, and I would recommend people listening to them. Those are fun episodes.
I was gonna say along the same lines, they actually cover some of the Realm of Chaos books, some of the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. Stu also does write about it in the book, some of the better supplements of it too. So
That's cool.
And heck, I feel like there have been a lot of interesting and cool books released this year or in and around this time. Looking back at games and artists and stuff, like, well, one, the John Blanche biography that just came out, Stu Horvath's book here. Unbound Books recently published a book called Dice Man, looking at uh start of Games Workshop, where what's the gentleman's name? Ian Livingstone. I should know his name, but he wrote that. So it seems there are a lot of books about many of the aspects of the hobby that we know and like that are being released that are cool. But so I guess I should buy a copy of Stu Horvath's book. It's a fun looking cover.
kind of adjacent to what we're talking about, but I think from the same perspective of getting like an old look at how these companies started and some of their earlier products. What's his account name? Film Deg Miniatures. Tom Evans. Just I think the content, the content he's been putting out lately of interviewing all these old legends, I think is also
crazy.
like some of the best stuff from this year as far as the hobby goes. Just hearing some of these OGs talk about how third edition Warhammer is like the worst Warhammer they ever wrote and they hate the system, and then on the flip everyone in the community being like, this is the best, what are you talking about?
I wonder,
third edition was a very weird amalgamation of a lot of things.
We talking about third edition Warhammer Fantasy here?
Yeah.
Well, I kind of wonder if a lot of it is a lot of the people that think it's the best. It's just that was what was going on around the time they got into
started.
it.
Yeah, rose tinted
glasses.
Yeah.
Sorry, Curtis.
No, I mean, I think there's always at least that can play a big role in some of that, but yeah.
I mean, well, when we got into Warhammer and Warhammer 40,000, we bought the second edition 40,000 boxed game in 1997 at one point. But I don't know, within a year or something, they had released the third edition. So
the 40K.
We got in right at the third edition of 40K. So we got in right at the end of the second edition of 40K, but it was mainly the third edition that we had been playing. So that, I feel, was perhaps the most formative of the editions for us. But the game that was most formative to our playing games was Gorka Morka.
Yeah, boy.
Because we got 40K when we were 12, and we were young and dumb and didn't read the rules properly and didn't play it right. But we were a little bit older when Gorka Morka came out, and we got Gorka Morka, and that was the first game we read the rules and played properly.
Now, I don't want to speak for people, but there are some Gorka Morka people getting into it up where we are. So if you bring something to Nemo, I'm sure you could find someone to play with you.
Right. It's just all about who you can bully into whatever version of the game you want.
Eric's
I'm painting a little snotling from Gorka Morka here.
there you on the Gorka
You won't
Morka
really be
base.
able to see.
Nice.
Yeah, one of
Now,
those
this was
stupid
something that
Gorka
was
Morka
brought up
bases.
recently. Gorka Morka bases are specifically different than a regular GW base,
Very
right?
different.
Oh yeah, they're tiny.
Yes.
They're
Okay.
stupid looking.
They're outrageously small.
It's
They're
like you
like a
get
To
little
the
one of
point
oval,
that
kind of.
can your models stand up? Like some of Brian Nelson's original cool metal orc knobs for Gorka Morka, like I'm surprised they could even stand up on those
Wow.
yeah,
tiny
Eric, hold
bases.
them up some more.
I'm trying to. So,
That's
Yeah.
crazy looking.
Yeah, they were
this
really
is
weird.
also like
That's
the
horrendous.
smaller 20
Imagine
or 25 millimeter, 24 millimeter,
Yeah.
whatever. So the smaller base. So they're really tiny.
Yeah.
imagine trying to
wild.
remove a whole army on those bases.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're supposed to be because part of the Gorka Morka rules was you
Have
need
to fit
Guys
on the
on
truck.
trucks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and if they fall off, they fall off. So
I can appreciate that.
Well, so one of the things we talked about for a while was sometime having a post on our blog about going through and looking at some of the older bases, just having pictures of them, which the only real reason you'd want to do it is because of the Gorka Morka base.
Yeah.
Because
That
there's
would be a
something.
sick Instagram post, just a side by side of different bases over the years with written below what they
that's
are.
true.
People would like that. I would like that.
Yeah,
And that's what's the most important.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's true.
It's all that matters.
Yeah.
I was pulled away a bit there. Were other things like things people like this year discussed or
We were talking a bunch about how there have been a bunch of books released recently
Mm-hmm.
pertaining to looking back at games, game systems, or perhaps game
did this
companies.
bring up the John Blanche biography at all?
We
Very
mentioned it a little
briefly.
bit.
Yeah, because that's something at least came to my mind that was interesting. I mean, partially just because John Blanche is great, but then also because we were minorly involved in it, which
Yeah,
was
that's true.
an interesting experience. Um,
It's
I
a
have
cool book,
a
but it's expensive.
it is
yeah.
expensive.
I have a John Blanche biography book shaped present under the tree. So here's
Oh
hoping.
boy.
Well, I mean, it's kind
Yeah,
of
it
an
was-
interesting
Well-
size.
Yeah, it is.
Well, maybe we should buy another copy and bring it along as prize support for Nemo 2024.
Yeah.
Just
Seems
bring
like
that
a fun
copy.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Printed in
Look
Delaware.
at that.
it was a pretty fun, very quick read. And it was fun just to have lots of different people from Games Workshop and in John's life just talking about him and reflecting on his career and such. Was cool.
I wanted to get it, but I think how much was it? Like $45?
$45. So it
It's
is
expensive.
A
expensive.
little steep.
Um,
If someone got it for me for Christmas.
yeah, so it's pretty expensive, and it was done through Amazon's like Kindle printing. I forget
maybe
what
I'll-
it is.
Do they have a digital version of it only?
No.
I don't. Maybe they will eventually, but they
Hope
don't
if
at the
they
moment.
do, if they make it on, if they do a Kindle version, like I would buy it
Yeah.
for
Just
that.
read it on my girlfriend's tablet.
Yeah, but it's a fun read, but it is very expensive, and I could see, particularly with like Hollow Press has that nice Voodoo Forest printing that's like 29 euros or something,
That's
which is much bigger, very good printing,
A lot of good
binding, and so
images.
forth. Whereas this is like small, short, softback book that's more than that. So I could see some people coming from that being like, wait, I spent $50 for this. But like
Yeah.
for the people who would want it and are interested in John Blanche and his life and stuff, like you know who you are, I guess.
Yeah.
And just because we have a post that I put up, kind of reviewing it, but basically, you shouldn't go into thinking it's an art book. It's not an art book. It does have art in it, but it's not an art book. Like it's not printed on paper that is conducive for like high quality prints. They're not new scans of the artwork. It's like a
Yeah, it's
print of a
like
White Dwarf cover and stuff like
a
that. And I
print,
think that
or like the worst example I think is they have John's Sister of Battle cover, but instead of from a scan of the Codex cover, it's a scan of the Marvel comic that used that
Oh God.
artwork,
That's
and like the colors
scan
are
of a
just
scan.
yeah, the colors are so blown out and awful. Like it's
one
I
even like
yeah, it's
the
bad.
for his John second edition Warhammer 40,000 artwork with like the Blood Angel with the power fist and so forth
Mm-hmm.
and the goatee, like that, it's not a picture of that original artwork. It's from that artwork which was used on the Codex Imperialis book within the second edition box. So it's interesting. I mean, I guess because it was on a book, it was cropped to fit that size, but so yeah, it's much more of a reflection and chronicling of his life and where his artwork was used and stuff, as opposed to like the ideal way to view his
Yeah, they
art.
weren't doing high resolution scans of the original artwork. Shit, like none of that. No.
Which I mean, it would be hard to do that because his artwork is spread around through different people.
Yeah.
But actually, this week I actually did an interview with the author of that, John Wombat. I guess he has a magazine, like a hobby related magazine. I think that's primarily focused around his miniature game Shadows of maybe Centralis or something. But he interviewed me for that magazine, so maybe I'll be in that at some time. We'll
Cool
see.
as hell.
But yeah, I don't know. Interesting, and yeah, it's a fun read, but if you can read your friend's copy, that's probably fine too.
Yeah.
Did you ever imagine when starting the blog or podcast that you would be featured in a John Blanche autobiography? Well,
N-
biography, sorry.
no, no, not at all. Like as we even mentioned in this episode, we kind of started all this stuff just as a way to keep up with the hobby. Didn't really anticipate connecting with other people interested in sort of the niche aspects of it. But quickly, or fairly quickly, that became like kind of the reason why we kept doing it. Just interacting with, people like yourselves and other people. It made it worthwhile and want to keep pursuing the hobby, even though, it's more and more expensive. I'm less and less interested in the games they're producing, but I'm still as excited as I've ever been for, engaging with this miniature hobby. And, but yeah, the fact that that actually led us to going to Warhammer World, meeting, John Blanche and Jess Goodwin and some of those people was not something I would have anticipated, but it was cool that it has happened. And yeah, very interesting. And I guess it's probably somewhat similar. Have you been speaking like you didn't anticipate Hive Scum to maybe accelerate as much as it has? And but yeah, I think that's just a part about this community. It is very welcoming and encouraging for people to do cool things and do collaborative things that are bigger than maybe any one person could just do.
Right. And also shines a light on kind of how small it is and how
Hmm.
big it is at the same time. It's like you said, it's very welcoming for just how many people are in it, but you don't really know it is. You don't know how welcoming it is until you discover it.
And actually take that step to
Yeah, you sort of.
talk with other people and engage with them.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this a lot on different episodes of the podcast and everything, but you have to put yourself out there at least a little bit. And I think it has become easier and easier to do that now than it ever has been before. But certainly reach out to people. And I think you'll be surprised with how willing most people are to like talk to you and get excited with you about the hobby. About whatever part of it you're interested in, really.
No, 100%. Actually, in the subject of other cool releases and stuff this year, something that I feel might be worth mentioning, Cadabra Records this year released an excellent reading of probably Arginine Blackwood's most famous short story, The Willows, and it's really good. I don't know if either of you have read the story or
I have not.
familiar with it. It's
Yeah,
like H.P.
Algernon
Lovecraft.
Blackwood. Or yeah, Eric, you can say it.
Yeah,
Sure.
H.P. Lovecraft, like I think has kind of been quoted and stuff saying that it's like the best horror story ever written. And it's like at
Or
this price.
Lovecraft wrote an essay about
Oh yeah,
supernatural horror in literature. So Lovecraft read and talked about all these instances of supernatural horror appearing in literature. And Lovecraft suggested that he thought Algernon Blackwood's story, The Willows, was the best supernatural horror story.
1907 is when it was written.
Yeah, so it's not recent,
I'll put
but
this out.
it's great.
I'll put this out here. The best Secret Santa gift we got from the Ho Ho Hobby Vices thing was one of the people sent a collection of stories by that author.
Algernon Blackwood.
Yeah, that was
That
probably
rocks.
the best.
He has a sick name. That'd make a good Inquisitor name.
Well, so
That might be my Inquisitor's name, actually.
probably Algernon Blackwood's second most famous story is a short novel called The Wendigo. And we probably are all familiar with, in some capacity, the legend of the Wendigo. It's a Native American spirit creature thing that if you get possessed by it, you have something of a ravenous hunger, and sometimes you'll cannibalize people, and your hunger will never be sated.
True.
And Algernon Blackwood had a cool story called
It's
The Wendigo.
pretty weird. It goes places that you don't expect, I feel. That's what I would say about it.
I feel The Willows does that story as well. And for something being written so long ago, it feels fresh. It doesn't, or to me, it felt very fresh.
The,
It didn't.
the verbiage isn't dated.
Not
No,
really.
no.
And it also, because sometimes when you're reading H.P. Lovecraft, at times it can feel like a bit pedantic and like trying to string together as many adjectives as possible.
Yep.
There's
and
a
it doesn't
little
really do that.
There's a little bit of that in the Wendigo, I feel, and there's certainly racism and stuff like that type of stuff, like which is also in some of Lovecraft's work. Some of the stuff, it's like, like. So I will say, going into this really wasn't in the Willows. I don't recall, but certainly the Wendigo.
No, not in the Willows.
So it is something to be aware of.
But yeah, so I would encourage people to read The Willows, or if you do like have a record player, you could get Cadabra Records pressing of it, just read by Robert Lord Perry, who does just an amazing job of bringing the story and the characters to life. Like really good.
Agreed.
Can I
Cadabra
listen to
Records.
it not on a record?
No.
Oh, all right, never mind.
I mean, you can 100% you could type it into YouTube and find someone reading it.
Someone else. Okay.
Someone
Yeah,
else.
but it wouldn't be as good of
Yeah.
a recording and reading as this Kadabra Records version. It's great.
Yeah, it's very good.
Get a record
mean,
player for the studio. And then when you're
I'm
playing
going
your
to pull it
games
up
and
now.
stuff, you could put those on and listen.
So admittedly, they're the sort of thing
You wanna
you
sit
should,
down
when you
and-
put them on, you want to sit down and pay attention to them. And
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons that Kadabra Records doesn't release any of the things digitally. They want people to have to go through the effort of, when you're putting on a record, you have to put it on. They want people to pay attention to it. Because with the age of Spotify and digital streaming of music and whatnot, it's pretty easy to just put something on in the background and not pay attention to it.
Yeah, but
I
Alright.
agree.
Well, I found it narrated by Ian Gordon. I'll probably listen to this tomorrow.
The
Yeah.
Willows or the Wendigo? Both are great. The Willows is weirder,
And
I
that's a
would-
good thing.
I would say, but the Wendigo is still pretty weird too.
Yeah, it is.
I just found like 8 different readings of the Willows on YouTube.
Yeah, there are lots of it. Yeah, as we said, it's not a new story.
No, it's not.
Well, do people have like things they're looking forward to or excited about 2024, things they would like to do, or
Nemo
Um,
2024.
Greg,
yeah.
you're not playing in that.
Oh,
It's only
I mean,
3
the
rounds
event
this
under the
year.
Dice Fest.
Yeah.
That. I'm excited to be there at that. I won't be
Yeah.
playing Mordheim.
That's fair.
Well, we only
I
have
won't
I
either.
think we've only signed up for one of us to play. So Greg, you can do it.
No.
Don't worry. So all your opponents will be great.
Yeah.
No,
I'll make sure of it.
Yeah.
I'll make sure.
It's sure to be fun. Which towards that end, we're probably gonna bring some of our Vestarian stuff, like some of like Bill Ford's boards and so forth. I also was talking to Totally Not Panicking Matt, and he's gonna be working on making like a board that maybe we'll see if he'll be able to do it in time for that, but in hopes to bring that along so we can play some Vestarian style games at some point that weekend. So
Very cool.
if people are doing that, we'll be there to try to play some games or show off some of the models and that sort of thing. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah. I've started on my Colt. I have to work on them more. I made 2 guys and they need some green stuff work, but they'll get there.
Another thing I'm looking forward to: Flames of Orion official release.
We'll see. We'll see. I'm waiting. I don't like know what I can and can't say about it because I feel like saying too much.
You don't have to say stuff about it, but hopefully there'll be a release of it.
I am dreaming of that, to not ever have to think about it ever again.
Okay.
Sick.
A nice
But yeah.
thought.
Yeah. I would like to. I really love the idea of doing like a world championship so someone can claim being the best player of it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Maybe at Adepticon, I'll round a bunch of people up and make them play.
Sounds like a good
The
idea.
best player in the world out of 12 people.
Right now, I think you're the world champion right now, Greg.
I don't remember. How many games did I win?
Well, I had
won
it, and
some
then
games.
Paul beat me, and then you beat Paul.
Yeah. So you took it, but you took it from his cold, dead hands.
That's it.
And now
That
Gage
makes sense.
can't get it back unless he plays you.
Heck
Yeah.
yeah.
It's happening at Under the Dice Fest.
Maybe.
That's
much
Whoever
Right.
holds it by the time the book is going to print is going to get their name in the book as the champion.
World champion.
That's
That's
great.
fun. Well, yeah, I'm excited about Adepticon because despite being involved in this hobby pretty extensively for a while, we've still never gone to
It's
Adepticon.
easy to convince yourself not to go.
100%.
Yep.
Yeah, but I
He
feel
just convinced himself every year to only go for like 2 days.
Pretty much.
That
but
makes
so I'm
sense.
excited that we'll likely be going this year.
Likely.
I feel it's
Oh.
something that we have to at least do once,
Yeah.
just to compare it to other things. I mean, I imagine it's such like a large event will have its own strengths and weaknesses. Like
Hmm.
I could see myself still preferring something more like Rich Grimmond, like just a smaller group of people, or even like Nemo under the Dice Fest. It's a bit more focused and just the people interested in the things you were doing are there. But I don't know. We'll see. Have to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 10,000 people, literally, plus, just wandering the halls like zombies, just trying to buy the new Space Marines, is not the most ideal situation, but it does bring a lot of our friends, international, and
Hmm.
some we
A lot
don't
of
get to see
freaks in
often. So
general.
yeah,
So I
it's
think
it's
that's cool.
definitely going
Like
to be
there's
the
a
best
big
part.
draw.
Like last year, I don't think like we had like our little secluded area that we were able to hide out in. I don't think I left it for very much of the entire convention.
It was convincing someone to go shopping, like a buddy system of you want to go look at these models. I heard there's cool guys at this one booth. We'd go out, buy some stuff, and then
Go
seclude back
hide,
to
make
the
peanut butter
grimdark
and
hallway.
jelly.
That's fun. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think there's anything else planned though for next year, really.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
we'll
besides
see.
those two events and then
Dungeon
Northeast
Siege.
Dungeon Siege again, yeah, I think,
You'll find stuff.
I
yeah,
think you
we'll
will.
You're
see.
always doing stuff. But yeah, I feel that seems like a good, exciting start to the
Yeah.
year and a strong start.
Yeah.
I just wish they were a little more spread out. That's all.
That's fair.
Well,
That's fair.
you have the burden of going to another convention the same week as Adepticon.
Yeah, PAX East, leave that, immediately go to Adepticon, come home for 4 days, then Northeast Dungeon Siege for 3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Someone should have
That's a
told
lot.
them to place it a little bit further out, but
Yeah.
Oof. That is a lot.
it's not like there's a lot of work that goes into the Dungeon Siege one though. That's like kind of just show up
There
in
will be
game.
this year.
Well, that's your own burden.
It
You show up.
100% is my own fault.
You could just show up with boards and some games. Be like, all right, guys, we're playing this is what we're playing.
People would be
Like it and
happy.
shut up.
Yeah.
I mean, you throw Forbidden Psalm at people, they're gonna have fun.
That's true. That's true. Well, I don't know. Maybe we've been chatting for a while here. Maybe it's time we draw this to a close. But it was good to have you both to chat about Hive Scum and what's been going on this year and look towards the future. With that in mind, any last things you'd like to say or add?
Mm, I love Dragon into Turbolasers in between the Bolt Army.
Thank you.
I don't think this community would be anywhere where it is without formative people like the three of you. So, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for the kind words. It's much easier to want to do things and continue to do things when the community is as welcoming and as fun to be with. So,
That's very true.
but yeah, I guess thank you for being here, and
Here's to
before you know it, we'll be in
2024.
and be up there with you all for Nemo and whatnot. So, lots to look forward to. But
Hmm.
I guess with that, thank you everybody for listening, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Bye bye.
Bye.
All right, we did it.
Fucking
Hell
sick.
yeah.
We did it.
Amazing.
You guys should come up to Dungeon Siege regardless of the gaming or not, just for the fest. Fall asleep listening to Dungeon Synth standing up.
That does sound cool.
Yeah, boy. Incredible.
It's pretty cool. It's a big theatrics.
Josh will not, the guy who runs the real booking of it, won't even tell me who's playing this year, but someone asked if Mortis is playing, and he literally just replied with a wink emote in the chat. So,
yo, if Jordis plays, I'm going full denim.
Full denim, that would be incredible.
That's funny. Good.
Am I running games at Dungeon Siege?
if you want to, yeah.
I mean, if it gets me in, I'll definitely run shit.
All right, you're in.
That's funny.
Incredible.
All right, boys. Well, this was fun. I have to be up in 4 hours.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I-
have to get up soon too, honestly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, thanks everybody for
thanks,
listening.
everybody.
Thanks both of you for being here. The live stream's still going, so I'll say thanks everybody for listening. Keep on enjoying the hobby. Stay safe, stay healthy. Till next time.
Gage
Over and out.
just leaked Mortis to the Twitch stream.
Yikes.